Hey, it's Al from Decent Boys and welcome back to the next episode of Infinite Tescos. In the last episode, we finally finished up the logic that decides the direction of both the shape and the model of the shelf block, and in this episode we're going to be focused on getting our shelves to corner properly. So let's dive right in. The first step was to look at how stairs cornered. It seemed really hard at first, but when I looked at how to do it and broke it down into steps, it actually wasn't too bad. The first and easiest thing to do was to make a model for an inner and outer corner. Just to clarify for the rest of the series, this is an inner corner and this is an outer corner. Okay, now that I had the inner corner model, it was time to make shapes for the inner corner version of the shelf. I made a shape for each diagonal compass direction the same way we made shapes earlier. After that, it was time to actually design some logic to decide how and when a shelf should corner. This was scary, so instead I made a to-do list for the project and decided to give the shelf blocks proper texturing. I procrastinated. I had a bit of trouble loading the texture for some reason, but I found that reloading the resources fixed that. I also then realised that the texture I made was the wrong way round. Other than that though, it looks pretty solid. That's a solid 2 bonks there. I also built this structure to get an idea of how the shelves were actually going to look in the final mod. Fixing the texture rotation also turned out to be quite easy. It was just something I needed to specify in the resource file for the model. And just like that, we had shelves that looked like shelves. They just couldn't corner yet. There was one more problem. The small sides of the model, like the very top and the sides, looked weird because of the way they used the texture. Again, this was a quick fix. I just had to specify what part of the texture I wanted those sides to use. I proceeded to break everything and reset the rotation on the texturing. A bit later on, I also messed up the face culling on the model again. Eventually I got both of these things back to where they should be though. Finally, I'd done everything except the cornering, and the final product looked really good. Now all I had to do was actually work on cornering. Again, I procrastinated and instead made that characteristic flaw into a block that my mod would eventually need. Then the floor block was ready. I was in the process of setting up a model of how the Tescos will look in my dev world, so I decided to test the floor there. And with that, the first proper glance at how this project was going to look was ready. It was so exciting, and it definitely gave me the motivation I needed to continue with the project. There was one tiny problem with the floor. When I designed the texture of the block, I made those speckles you see random. But when all the blocks were placed next to each other, you could easily see the pattern repeating, ruining this effect. A quick edit to the block's resource file meant that every time a block was placed, the texture would have a random rotation applied to it, making the pattern look more natural again. I replaced the floor, and here is the finished result. I am super stoked to be working on this project. Even just this little sample ended up coming out way better than I thought, and it is far from finished. These early development stages are just about laying the groundworks. It's the same way I create any project. I work on creating a basic idea of what I want, and then I hone and refine that. I actually forgot how much footage I had archived, so I thought we were going to work on cornering today, but I totally forgot about the retexturing and the floor block. Next episode though, I promise the only thing left to code is the cornering mechanics. I haven't actually coded on this project for a few weeks because I've been trying to edit and upload my backlog of footage for this project. Once I'm caught up to date with it all, I can actually upload episodes about features I'm coding at the same time as the upload, instead of weeks ago. Progress should also be much faster now that we've laboured over the shelf block, as a lot of the other block mechanics are going to be very similar or simpler. I have a lot of ideas for this project and I'm very motivated and inspired for it. I'm always torn between keeping these ideas secret or not. On the one hand, it could generate more interest in my work, and a key part of my art is leaving details up to the audience's interpretation. I do generate my own lore and canon personally, which as the artist makes it the official lore, But the lore, I think, to an extent, is about less is more. I do have a lore for both this project and future tie-ins for my art and projects, but revealing every detail to that to the audience on a plate would be boring, even if it was interesting lore. I'm really trying to be careful about the ways I reveal lore. In this project, most of it will not be explicitly spelled out, but will be visible to the audience to infer the lore from. It will be based on the idea of quasi-lore. There's a great video explaining quasi-lore that I'll link. Other, less plot or lore relevant, but potentially interesting elements of the lore, I will keep a secret. I think not knowing everything about the lore is what keeps it alive. You will always have questions that don't have a solid answer. You have a compelling theory that might be right, but you'll never know. It adds a sense of emotional or psychological realism to the art, which I believe helps keep my audience hooked. I tease them with enough information to pique their curiosity, but withhold enough information to keep them wanting more. I like to call myself an artist because I believe anyone can be, but that doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about. These are just my personal feelings about my art and my process. Thank you for the continued support on this project, it means a lot. If you'd like to see more, join the Discord, link in description, or subscribe. I'm going to document this whole process, and when the beta is ready, it'll be hosted on a server for everyone to playtest. Thank you so much to everyone, keep being creative.